Welcome to the 12 Report with Blessings Mosugu, and these are the headlines. President Tinubu urges ECOWAS to declare resource theft and illegal mining international crimes. Also, IMF flags illicit cash flows as a major threat to Nigeria's economy. And finally, former Kenyan Prime Minister Raila Odinga dies at 80. And as usual, we have our reporter stationed in different parts of the country. Austin Azu is currently in Delta State. Aisha Saliu is in standby in Abuja. Igbalani Omoni is in Lagos, while Umoru Kirawa is joining us live from Borno State. We've got the details in a moment. Let's start by telling you that the International Monetary Fund says illicit financial flows are making Nigeria's revenue crisis even worse. Speaking at the 2025 IMF World Bank meetings in Washington, IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said stolen public funds and untraceable digital transactions are draining national resources. She warned that criminal financial activities, including embezzlement and anonymous crypto transactions, is hurting economies, especially in developing countries. Georgieva said the IMF is renewing efforts to help countries like Nigeria trace these illegal flows and close the gaps in their revenue systems. She also stressed that without urgent action, digital finance could become a dangerous tool for unchecked corruption and economic instability. Now, Nigeria has taken over the leadership of the Intergovernmental Group of 24, a bloc representing developing countries in global economic discussions. The Central Bank of Nigeria confirmed the transition, noting the chairmanship becomes effective from November 1st, 2025. Now, as chair, Nigeria aims to push for inclusive reforms in global economic governance and amplify the voices of emerging economies. Formed in 1971, the G24 advocates equitable development financing and fair representation in international monetary policy. Nigeria previously urged member nations to invest in its sectors, including agriculture, oil, and manufacturing, citing vast arable land and economic potential. The country now plans to leverage its leadership to champion collective growth and stability. President Bola Tinubu is urging ECOWAS to take a bold step by declaring resource theft, including illegal mining, an international crime. Speaking through the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, at a regional anti-corruption event in Abuja, Tinubu said the theft of minerals is threatening West Africa's peace and stability. He warned that stolen resources are fueling insecurity, small arms proliferation, and violent crimes like kidnapping and banditry. Tinubu emphasized that no country can fight illicit financial flows alone and called for stronger regional collaboration through NASIWA. He also reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to access recovery, citing new legal reforms and major recoveries made by anti-corruption agencies. Now, still on the tragic news, the Nigerian police are set to arraign 5 suspects allegedly involved in the killing of the chairman of Irewole local government area in Osun State, Aderemi Abbas. The suspects, Abubakar Kabiru, Ibrahim Fatai, Tajuddin Okpeyemi, Akim Awomojo, and Akintayo Olayemi, are expected to appear before Justice Joyce Abdulmalik of the Federal High Court in Abuja to answer to the charges against them. Right now, we're joined by our judiciary correspondent, Joshua Murai, who's live in court and has been following this story. Joshua, now we understand that this isn't the first time that these suspects are appearing before the court. Can you give us some background on this case?
Of course, good afternoon, Alexis. Of course, this is not the first time these suspects are appearing before Justice Joyce Abdulmalik. The last time they were in the court, they were supposed to take their plea on the charges against them. But unfortunately for them, the charges read to them were written in English, and the suspect told the court that through their lawyer that they don't understand English, so they opted me for the later date for the court to provide a translator, or perhaps one who understands Yoruba to translate the charges from Yoruba to English and their pleas from English to Yoruba. So today they were in court and they were present, and the presence of the translator was seen in court today.
So help us understand what is the latest update regarding today's arraignment. Now we know that, like we said, we established it's not the first time in court. What are we expecting from the arraignment? Has there been any new development regarding the case, any new evidences, or is it still the same proceeding?
Well, of course, there is a new development concerning the case, as all of the 4 witnesses who are available, because one is still at large, all of the 4 witnesses, namely Abubakar Kabir, Tajin Opoyemi, Akim Abomojo, Akintayo Olayemi, were all present in court and took their respective plea. The charges leveled against them are 3 count charges bordering on terrorism, illegal possession of firearm, and killing of Adeyemi Abbas, that is a council chairman in Osun State. They all pleaded not guilty to these charges leveled against them, and the judge ruled, Justice Joyce Abdulmalik ruled that they are all be remanded in the Kuje Correctional Facility, and the trial has been adjourned to the 4th of December for continuation of hearing and for the trial.
Marai, thank you so much for the update on that. It's quite a tragic one that he's been murdered, but of course what we can hope for now is justice, especially for the family. Thank you for the update. To more stories, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors is once again urging the federal government to reinstate 5 of its members sacked from the Federal Teaching Hospital in Lokoja. Now, according to the association, the doctors were dismissed between October 2024 and August this year, allegedly for taking part in union activities. At a press briefing in Lokoja, NARD President Dr. Mohammed Suleiman lamented that the affected doctors have been out of work for more than a year now, insisting it's time the government took decision and decisive action. He reminded the authorities that 18 days have already passed since the association issued a 30-day ultimatum to address key demands, including unpaid salaries, allowances, and other welfare issues. Dr. Suleiman warned that if nothing changes soon, Nigeria's already fragile health system could be headed for even tougher times. Let's take a look at the education sector. The Nigerian Association of Medical and Dental Academics has distanced itself from the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Now, in a statement released in Abuja, the association made it clear that its members are not part of the strike and remain fully committed to their duties. The association emphasized that while it supports fair and just demands within the education sector, it will not be coerced into actions that do not align with its objectives. NAMDA NAMDA also confirmed that discussions are ongoing with the federal government, focusing on key issues like the improved remuneration and the controversial PhD requirement for medical lecturers. The group is urging the government to expedite approval of long-awaited reforms, including a scheme of service first proposed as far back as 1990. The Federal Ministry of Education announced that mathematics will no longer be compulsory for arts candidates applying to universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. This adjustment comes as part of a comprehensive review of entry requirements led by Education Minister Dr. Tunji Alausa, aligning with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. Dr. Alausa explained that while over 2 million candidates sit for the UTME every year, fewer than 700,000 secure admission, largely due to rigid and outdated policies. To address this gap, the new guidelines are set to maintain high academic standards and aims to remove unnecessary barriers. Officials predict the reform will increase admissions by up to 300,000 students annually, expanding opportunities and empowering Nigerian youths to contribute to national development. Still on education, in the meantime, the Federal Ministry of Education has released detailed guidelines in revised admission requirements for tertiary institutions aimed at removing long-standing barriers while maintaining academic standards. According to the ministry, the new policy framework applies to universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, and innovation enterprise academies nationwide. Here's a breakdown of the new requirements. For universities, candidates must have 5 credit passes in relevant subjects, including English language, in not more than 2 sittings. Mathematics is required only for science, technology, and social science courses. For polytechnics and ND level, a minimum of 4 credit passes is needed, with English mandatory for non-science courses and mathematics compulsory for science-related programs. Now, for polytechnics HND level, students must present 5 credits, including English and mathematics. For colleges of education NCE level, a minimum of 4 credits is required. English is mandatory for arts and social sciences, while mathematics is compulsory for science, vocational and technical disciplines. The ministry says the revised guidelines will broaden access to higher education across all disciplines while aligning with national development goals. Now let's take a look at security. The Delta State government has taken another major step to tackle insecurity with the official launch of the Delta State Security Trust Fund. This initiative is aimed at strengthening the capacity of security agencies and enhancing community safety across the state. A high-profile gathering of billionaires, business leaders, and government officials is currently underway at the Government House in Asaba, the state capital. And as we speak, my colleague News Central's Austin Azu is standing by to bring more updates on this development. Austin Azu, we have talked time and time again about the level of insecurity in Nigeria, and this is once again another step in the right direction. But so far, what has been the highlight of this gathering?
Good afternoon to you. We are currently at the banquet hall of Government House here in Asaba, and the atmosphere seems to be like who and who stakeholders in Delta State have started arriving for the all-stake event here. And the purpose here is to ensure they are able to secure the lives and properties of Deltans. However, the trust fund was established in 2013 and the law was amended, and since then the fund, the board has been working. But nevertheless, what it seems to work on this time around is excess of funding. All right, we'll have the Commissioner for Information and Rural Works. Hello, sir. Please come forward, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, take us through the essence of this program. What does it seek to achieve in Delta State?
Well, thank you very much, and let me also, through you, appreciate your medium, because even if you could be regarded as one of the new kids on the block, you are actually doing what adults do. So I must appreciate the management and staff of News Central for what you're doing in terms of bringing out information and pushing out to the public, and doing so objectively. The essence of this particular security summit, security launch, is for us to be able to further add valve to what the governor himself is doing with the state resources. The governor has been able to ensure that a number of materials in terms of communication equipment, in terms of logistics as vehicle, and many of such have been provided. Of course, there is a whole lot of collaboration between us and all the security agencies in the state, and we're happy to also announce that in Delta, the issue of interagency rivalry has been dealt with, and you see a whole lot of collaboration, which is why just a few days ago you saw the discovery of a catch of arms by the Department of State Police, the DSS. And so we are doing this to add to what the governor is doing, that by the time we're able to bring in these critical stakeholders who are either doing one form of business or the other in Delta, who are friends of Delta, to be able to assist us, because no amount of money will be too much for you to be able to deal with the issue of security. By the time we're able to launch this as security trust fund, we'll be able to strategically provide some of those logistics that the security agencies need for them to be able to carry out their responsibilities.
Okay, sir, before I come back to you, sir, there are issues regarding the plan to ensure transparency in the management of this fund. What are mechanisms put in place by the state government to ensure that transparency actually see the light of the day?
Well, for a start, I'm happy you know the governor that we have. I use the word for a start because the Security Trust Fund is going to outlive him. But he has already been able to demonstrate that he's a prudent manager of resources. He has also been able to put in the Security Trust Fund platform a number of individuals, credible individuals, who will also oversee the deployment of the funds and the other resources that will be realized. because at this event today, we are not only expecting individuals to make donation of funds, we are quite optimistic that some other persons will possibly provide vehicles, or even possibly provide us with some other communication gadgets, everything that is needed for you to be able to ensure security. But what is most important is that there is already a mechanism to be able to have a transparent management of these resources, being headed directly by the governor himself, so that at the end of the day, you do not launch a security transfer such as this and then begin to use the money to provide some other things that are not directly linked to security. Even if any expenditure, whether in terms of humanitarian interventions, have one form or the other that is linked to security, but there is going to be a direct correlation between this fund, as it's going to be realized, the activities of the fund itself, that is what I mean the fund, I'm talking about the agency, and then of course the supervision that the governor is going to provide, so that at the end of the day, this money, these resources in terms of other kind, gifts in kind, will be deployed solely for the purpose of ensuring a safer Delta State.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner for Works, Rural and Public Enlightenment. That's Charles Sanyago, giving us updates on what the Security Trust Fund seeks to achieve. All right, back to you, Blessing, in the studio.
Much for the update on Delta security, and hopefully this initiative will be a productive one, and we'll see how that turns out. As part of a series of stakeholder consultations ahead of the Anambra State governorship election scheduled for November 2025, the FCT area council elections in February 2026, the Ekiti and Osun governorship polls in June and August 2026, the acting chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, May Agbamuche Umbu, has met with leaders and representatives of civil society organizations in Abuja. This meeting is expected to allow INEC update CSOs on the Commission's preparedness for the upcoming off-cycle polls. All right, our correspondent Aisha Saliu is following this very keenly, but we'll come back to her to give us more update. Many thanks for staying with us on the 12th report. We're still talking about INEC's preparedness, but in the meantime, our correspondent Aisha Saliu will be bringing us the update very shortly. Let's take a look at what's happening currently in Lagos. A man claiming the title of Obi of Lagos has sparked controversy, with traditional leaders rejecting the title as culturally and historically inaccurate. Now, Lagos, a predominantly Yoruba state, recognizes the Oba of Lagos as its legitimate monarch, while the title Obi is traditionally Igbo. Now, cultural groups and legal experts are calling for action, warning that such claims could mislead the public and disrupt traditional institutions. Now, we'll go to the High Court in Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos, where the self-acclaimed traditional ruler is facing charges currently, and my colleague News Central's Ibalani Yomali is live in court and has more on the story. Ni, if you can hear me, what are the specific charges that are brought against this self-acclaimed traditional ruler? What's the potential implication as well? All right, while we're trying to establish connections with Ni, we'll bring you more updates on the charges that this self-acclaimed Obi of Lagos is facing and what the potential consequences will be subsequently. As you see that cultural leaders have basically said that it's wrong. Now, let's move to News Central's Aisha Saliu, who will give us more updates on INEC's preparedness in terms of the off-cycle elections. Hello, Aisha. Can you give us a takeaway from the meeting so far that you have been monitoring?
Well, right now, the acting chair of INEC at the moment with the civil society organizations have broken into a technical session. But earlier, before the technical session, she did give an update to the media and also the civil society organization about the series of activities, electoral activities lined up, especially regarding to the off-cycle election. She talked about the Anambra State governorship election, which is scheduled to hold on 8th of November 2025. Outstanding activities that the commission is yet to carry out is a publication of no notice of poll stated for 25th October 2025, and also the last day for campaigns, which she also told the representatives of the political parties just yesterday when she held the same meeting that the last day for the polls would be 6th November 2025 and the date of election is 8th November 2025. And then she also said that all non-sensitive materials for the election have been delivered to the state, and voter education and sensitization is currently ongoing. And then she also talked about the area council election in the FCT, which is scheduled for 21st of February 2026. She talked about the lineup of activities for submission of names of polling agents for the election to the electoral officer of the local government areas by political parties, and also publication of publication of notice of poll and the last day for campaigns and the date of election. She equally talked about other electoral activities, which is the continuous voter registration, as you're well aware that the commission resumed on the 18th of August, and also the in-person registration. And then for response of the civil society organization, representatives of the civil society organization, they called on the INEC. They said they are still throwing their support behind the new leadership of, even though she's in the acting capacity, they're throwing their support, and also called on INEC to strengthen election at sub-national levels, especially with their foot soldiers in those levels. That's talking about the resident electoral commissioner and also the electoral officers, because they say that it is once INEC does this that they would be able to completely consolidate on the democratic gains, and then they will stand right for what the institution stands for. Blessings.
All right, thank you so much for giving us a comprehensive explanation of what the meeting has been about the off-cycle election so far. We'll see how that turns out. The Nigerian Correctional Service in Kano has defended its decision to transfer convicted cleric Abdul-Jabbar Kabara to a federal custodial facility, stating it complies with established procedures. According to the service, inmate movements are standard practice based on security levels, facility capacity, and rehabilitation needs, all in line with the Correctional Service Act of 2019. The agency confirmed Kabara's legal rights, including access to representation and appeal, remain unaffected. Kabara was sentenced to death in December 2022 by an upper Sharia court in Kano for blasphemy. The Correctional Service also reaffirmed its mandate to ensure secure custody, inmate rehabilitation, and reintegration, emphasizing that the transfer aligns with constitutional responsibilities. Let's look at Nigerians in diaspora. The Senate has expressed deep concerns over the increasing cases of abuse, trafficking, and exploitation of Nigerian migrants in Libya. This followed a motion by lawmaker Basi Anyekan, who drew attention of the Senate to the plight of Nigerians exposed to grave dangers while attempting irregular migration through the North African country. News Central's National Assembly correspondent Sagir Ibrahim brings the details in this report.
It's yet another new week and the first day of plenary. Lawmakers settled in for the business of the day, with plenary kicking off immediately the presiding officer arrived. First was a letter from President Bola Tinubu requesting the Senate to confirm Professor Joash Amupitan as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. President Tinubu says the nomination follows the completion of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu's tenure in accordance with constitutional provisions.
I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of Professor Joash Amupitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as chairman.
The Senate President referred the letter to the Committee on Electoral Matters for further legislative action. Meanwhile, a new defection was witnessed on the floor of the Senate, with Bauchi North Senator Sumaila Killa defecting from the opposition People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. With this, the APC now holds a two-third majority in the Senate, increasing their seat to 73 out of 109 and meeting the constitutional threshold for passing major or controversial bills. As proceedings progressed, Akwa Ibom Northeast Senator Anyekan Basi moved a motion on the urgent need to safeguard Nigerians from trafficking, slavery, and human rights abuses in Libya.
Credible bodies have documented consistent reports of arbitrary detention, torture, rape, forced labor, and killings of migrants in Libyan detention centers operated by both states and non-state actors.
Other lawmakers condemned the situation and called for stronger diplomatic measures to protect Nigerians abroad.
We are in a free country, nobody needs exit visa to travel. But people should be informed that after the collapse of Gaddafi, Libya is no longer what it used to be. There are protocols and laws that will govern the way you treat people you find in your land, even if the person entered there illegally. It's not by putting them in the chamber and kill them.
Numerous Nigerian women who were sex trafficked to Libya and happened to escape were arrested and detained in the Libyan prisons.
This committee on legislative compliance will follow up to be sure that all the prayers we have brought out today, including the additional prayers, are adhered to.
The Senate also mandated its committees on diaspora, judiciary, human rights and foreign affairs to investigate the activities of human trafficking networks and unlicensed travel agents facilitating irregular migration with a view to tightening existing laws and enforcement mechanisms. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sakir Ibrahim.
Right now, we're circling back to the story that we told you earlier about the self-acclaimed Obi of Lagos, who the elders and monarchs have said is not doing the right thing, because what they know is the Oba of Lagos and not the Obi of Lagos. My colleague News Central's Igbalani Yomoni is live in court and has more on the story. Ni, what would you say are the specific charges brought against the self-acclaimed traditional ruler? And if he's found guilty, what are the potential implications if he's convicted?
Thank you so much, Blessing. I will start by saying this is a highly unusual and sensitive case we have here at the Tafawa Balewa High Court in Lagos, and its courts across people parading themselves as a title the police has said is not recognizable, is not recognized under the law of Lagos State. We have 4 men, including a 65-year-old Chibuike Ajibade, who faces charges for allegedly parading himself around the fictitious royal title, which is the Obi of Lagos. Now, they were arrested late September while at an event where they were trying to unfold and gather funds to build about a 1 billion Naira palace, allegedly in Lagos, and of course conduct a new yam festival, which is called Ofala, I think, in that language, at the Amuwodofin area of Lagos State. Now, according to the police, they were arrested because they were parading themselves as a title which is not recognized under the Obas and chief laws of Lagos State. Currently, they are in court here, and the presiding justice is Justice Muhyiddin. The case is among the cases on the docket. We've been here since 9 a.m. However, the case has not been called on. We are hoping the case is called on any moment from now. But this should be the process once it starts. Once the case is being called on, their charges will be read to them, because today is actually an arraignment. They're being arraigned. The charges will be called up, will be read to them. They take a plea. If they plead guilty, then it's quite straightforward. The sentencing is done. And if they plead not guilty, then the case goes to trial. So we're waiting to get more information. We've been here for a while. We hope the case is called up soon so that we can get more information about that.
Understand that there's been a lot of pushbacks, but I think the most notable ones are from the traditional leaders and cultural groups in Lagos. How would you say that they've responded to this incident? What actions are they calling for to prevent similar incidents in the future?
If that is your question, I would say the dispute about titles in Lagos State has been a long-standing one, not just dispute, even debate about people parading themselves as various titles. In fact, while it's mostly common to a particular tribe, but a lot of times, even traditional rulers, recently there was a traditional council of traditional leaders meeting that held in Lagos, I think about 3 days ago, and it was re-emphasized that all traditional title holders should stop giving out any chieftaincy title for now, except it is recognized under the law. And I think that is a step moving forward in Lagos State. I don't know if it applies to other states, but that's the step in Lagos State right now, and I think it has come to stand. while it looks as if some have said that this looks like a targeted approach towards a particular tribe, because the people who are parading themselves here, who are being paraded or arraigned today, are people who come from a particular tribe. But they have said it's not, the police have come out to say it's not a targeted attempt, if I can put it that way. However, it is working against the law. You cannot parade yourself as a title, as a fictitious title, if I can put it that way, that has not been accepted or is not constitutional. So moving forward, they've told all traditional rulers to stop giving out chieftaincy titles that are not constitutional or seek approval of the government before doing so. For now, as I said earlier, we are waiting for the case to be called up. It's in the docket. We don't know how long it's going to take, but whatever they plead, whether guilty or not guilty, will determine what next the court will take.
All right, Omoni, thank you so much for giving us an insight into this case. And like you said, whatever the verdict is will determine what he would be pleading, whether guilty or not. Thank you so much. The leadership crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party has taken a dramatic turn at the Federal High Court in Abuja, where the national chairman, Umar-Iliya Damagum, and the national legal advisor, Kamaldeen Ajibade, openly clashed over who has the authority to appoint a required legal representation for the party. The clash occurred during the hearing of a suit filed by 3 aggrieved members of the party, Austin Wachuku, Ama Nana, and Turner George, seeking to stop the PDP's planned national convention scheduled for 15th and 16th November in Ibadan, where new national officers are to be elected. In a bid to douse tension, Justice James Omotosho stood down proceedings for 10 minutes to allow reconciliation, which failed to yield result, while ruling that Damagum and 2 other PDP leaders be joined as defendants in the suit. Justice Omotosho adjourned the matter to October 16 for further hearing.
And what transpired is that there was a bit of an issue over the representation of the second defendant, who is the PDP. And the courts adjourned more or less for that issue of representation to be sorted out. The time for the parties has now been abridged. Each party now has 24 hours to respond to the processes, and some new parties who indicated interest, particularly the chairman of the PDP, Ambassador Damagum, has now been joined as a party alongside 2 others. So we needed to consequentially amend our processes to reflect this joinder. That will be done. We have 24 hours to file, and by 12 o'clock on Thursday, the entire matter will be heard.
No, the case has been adjourned till Thursday, so we allow the lawyers to do their work. Well, I said it before. We are not perturbed. We believe, at the end of the day, for the common people, which we are right now, justice will be served.
The United Nations Children's Fund has called on the Nigerian government and other national and state authorities around the world to prioritize and increase investment in hand-washing infrastructure and hygiene education, particularly in schools. According to the 2025 WHO-UNICEF Joint Monitoring Program, about 2 billion people globally still lack access to basic hygiene services, including a hand-washing facility with soap and water at home. UNICEF warned that inadequate hygiene remains a major threat to public health, especially among children in low-income communities where preventable diseases such as diarrhea and respiratory infections are prevalent. News Central's Mori Kuraba is on standby in Borno State on the unfolding developments on UNICEF observation of Global Handwashing Day in Maiduguri.
Thank you, Blessing. And here at Yerwa Central Primary School, the United Nations Children's Fund, alongside teachers, the head teachers, and of course the students here, are encouraged to engage in regular hand washing. This is to encourage the students to imbibe the culture of regular hand washing and hygiene because it's in commemoration of the Global Hand Washing Day. But the United Nations Children's Fund has revealed that the current statistics of accessibility to hand washing facilities is daring. I mean, over about 2 billion people lack access to basic hand washing hygiene. And to further give more information with regard to these statistics and what really need to be done, we have the in charge of the UNICEF Chief of Field Office, Dr. Maria Marcos, who will tell us more with regard to the situation. So, Dr. Maria, what is the situation with regard to the increasing number of people that lack access to basic hygiene, water, hand washing hygiene?
Okay, thank you so much. As evidence of finding are showing, WHO and UNICEF joint monitoring show that more than 2 billion people are still lacking access to facility for proper hand washing across the world. And this is well distributed across the world, but specifically in Borno State, more than 20% of the school, for instance, have access to facility for hand washing. Currently, this day is a place on a theme of hand washing hero, and we are present in this school this morning with the authority and children, as you have seen, to launch the day, and together with the children we pass through this message and also observe how they learn to practice hand washing. If wash facility are not available everywhere, whether in the community, whether in a school, they will learn the practice, they will learn the behavior, but to practice it will be difficult.
The bottom line here is that it's a collective effort. That is what the United Nations Children's Fund is saying with regard to hand hygiene, hand washing hygiene. And of course, the large chunk of the action largely should be from the government towards addressing the increasing number of inaccessibility of people to basic hygiene kits. It's now back to you, Blessing, in the studio. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Moru Kirawa. We go on a short break now. You're still live with us on the 12th report, and when we come back, we've got more stories. Stay with us. Now to business. The Naira opened the week slightly weaker, trading at 1,467.01 Naira per dollar on Tuesday compared to 1,460 Naira per $1 on Monday, according to CBN data tracked by Naira Metrics. In the parallel market, it traded between 1,498 to 1,504 per $1. Nigeria's foreign reserves rose to $42.6 billion from $42.5 billion, reflecting steady inflows from oil exports. A Standard Bank projects the Naira at 1,458.8 Naira to the dollar by end of 2025 and 1,473 Naira to the dollar by December 2026. Inflation is expected to ease for a sixth month in September, after dropping to 20.12% in August from 21.88% in July, supported by a stable exchange rate, improved food supply, and sustained monetary discipline. Also, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has approved 28 billion Naira for the second phase of the Meter Acquisition Fund, MAF, to provide free meters to all unmetered Band A and Band B consumers. The order, effective October 6, 2025, mandates completion by December 31, 2025. Now, Ikeja Electric will receive 5.47 billion Naira, Eco-Disco 4.36 billion Naira, Ibadan 4.26 billion Naira, and Abuja 3.31 billion Naira, with Yola and Jos getting 231 million Naira and 794 million Naira respectively. The scheme built on a 21 billion Naira tranche concluded in June 2025. NERC aims to close Nigeria's 7 million meter deficit raise the 54.33% metering rate and curb energy theft through strict timelines and penalties. The World Bank says access to affordable and reliable electricity could unlock Africa's job potential, transform economies, and lift millions from poverty. In a blog titled Switching On Opportunity, it noted that 600 million Africans still lack power, with blackouts reducing employment by 5 to 14 percentage points. The bank is investing $30 billion through its International Development Association over 5 years to support Mission 300, targeting electricity access for 300 million Africans by 2030. Projects in Ethiopia, Tanzania, Senegal, and Sierra Leone are already powering schools, businesses, and clinics, proving that reliable energy access is key to productivity, investment, and inclusive growth. The Lagos State Government, in partnership with Welbeck Electricity Distribution Limited, has inaugurated 20 automated solar-powered streetlights in Surulere to enhance public safety and promote renewed energy adoption. The 20 million naira project also included donations of a traffic control booth and reflective vests to the Nigeria Police Force and LASMA. Welbeck CEO Afolabi Ayila said the initiative supports clean energy expansion with a goal for 20% of its power to come from renewables within 5 years. Commissioner Biodun Ogunleye said the collaboration aligns with Lagos' plan to manage 40,000 solar streetlights, advancing safety, sustainability, and public-private energy innovation across the state. Now, former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga, died on Wednesday, aged 80. Odinga suffered a cardiac failure during his morning walk. The Nairobi-based Star newspaper and other Kenyan media outlets reported that he passed away in India after suffering a heart attack. Odinga was the son of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, who served as Kenya's first vice president in Jomo Kenyatta's administration. Considered political royalty in East African nation, he was wildly popular among his supporters who heeded his calls en masse to demonstrate when he complained about vote rigging. The electoral disputes repeatedly triggered ethnic tensions and violence, most notably in 2008, when more than 1,100 people died and about 350,000 were forced to flee their homes. Still on the tragic passing of the former Prime Minister, we also would like to tell you that Ida Odinga, the wife of Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga, joined a crowd of mourners gathered outside their Nairobi home. Supporters and well-wishers came to pay their respects and offer condolences, reflecting the deep impact Odinga had on the nation's political landscape. The atmosphere was somber as Kenya grieved the loss of its prominent leader. Residents of Kibera, one of Nairobi's poorest neighborhoods, took to the streets to mourn the passing of opposition leader Raila Odinga. With less than 2 weeks before Côte d'Ivoire's presidential election, reports allege an online disinformation campaign by military juntas in 3 neighboring Sahel countries of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Accounts linked to the military regimes in these countries have spread false claims, including the fake death of Côte d'Ivoire's President Alassane Ouattara and alerts of a non-existent coup. The National Agency for Information Security cites involvement of cyber groups like the Burkina Faso's Rapid Intervention Communication Battalion, led by Ibrahima Maiga, who commands over 1.3 million Facebook followers. Meanwhile, Ouattara has opposed the coups in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and will run for a controversial 4th term. Now, we talk about oil theft all the time, but here's the real kicker. Nigeria is bleeding more from illegal mining than crude oil. Trillions of naira vanish every single year. Though, now the government is finally waking up. They've rolled out the mining marshals under the NSCDC, and they're taking actions to hunt down illegal miners, reclaim stolen minerals, and protect what's left of our natural resources. And it's not just small-time miners with shovels. These are full-blown industrial operations, moving gold and lithium worth billions. The latest bust, a lithium mine in Kebbi, was sealed after reportedly stealing 1.43 trillion naira worth of minerals in just 2 years. That's not theft, that's national sabotage. President Tinubu is even asking ECOWAS to classify mineral theft as an international crime, as we mentioned earlier, so smugglers can't just cross borders and escape justice. Because mineral theft is not just Nigeria's problem, it's a regional one. But while the government's efforts sound good, the real question is whether it will work on ground level. Corruption is still a thing. Oversight is weak, and a lot of these mining sites are tucked away in remote areas where law enforcement rarely even shows up. At the end of the day, this affects everyone. Every truckload of minerals stolen is money that could have gone into roads, into schools, into jobs, into the economy. If Nigeria really wants to move past oil, we've got to protect what's ours. Because right now, while we're sleeping on our mines, other people are getting rich off them. Something definitely needs to be done. And that's your postscript. Now, before we go, let's take a look at what's happening in the sporting world. The road to the 2026 World Cup for the Super Eagles of Nigeria gets tougher. Nigeria will face Gabon in the African playoff semi-finals with a single ticket to the intercontinental stage at stake. Can the Super Eagles soar, or will the Panthers clip their wings? Udoka and Joko, what do you think?
Well, the road to El Dorado is a long one for the Super Eagles. They actually caused this for themselves, but there's hope. There's a silver lining. We need to see past the playoff sports. Then we can seal qualification to the World Cup. It's a punishment we deserve 100%. But we'll give you more on In the Game shortly.
All right, like you've heard, stay tuned for more on that on In the Games. And that's all on the 12th report. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen because we want to see what you see. And also do also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Musugu.